2, 3. So back in September, I believe, I painted a couple of clocks with a couple of animal pictures, and since then I've been thinking about something a little more interesting, a little more involved, and that's where this has come in. Now, it's just had a coat of spray varnish, so I'm not going to pick him up or anything. This little Gekko image, a Gekko kind of outline, has been on my list of things to do something with for a while, and I've got a couple of things lined up for this general shape. So I thought I'd do a clock because they come in handy. This started with 3 or 4 layers of ply, just kind of cut to the general shape. I wasn't really going for anything particularly exact at this point, and once glued together I then set about them with the sanding attachment on my Dremel. Unnecessarily, because I was going to cover it anyway, so it didn't need to be sanded particularly. I levelled things out, so the kind of the toes and that kind of thing were pretty much even before I moved on to the filling. And I'm just using some standard filler here. I could have used a plaster or something like that, but filler is cheap and abundant, so that does the job. Now, it took a number of batches. I kind of mix up in smallish batches so I've got more control over this. And it was a very messy job. So I'm using a mixture of standard powdered filler, cheap PVA glue and a little bit of water. That will just help it to bind together and hold on to the wood and hold itself together, essentially, to give it some stability. So yeah, that process was quite easy. I had planned to recess the clock fitting into the back, but realised that it really wasn't going to fit in the end. So I ended up having to literally cut out that chunk of the body, replace the clock fitting, the clock movement just slightly higher up, and then kind of plaster that into place, which is probably not the ideal way of doing it, but it's what I can do. So I could have really gone to town and really worked on the surface and really smoothed the filler down so it's completely flat, but I didn't want a completely flat surface. I sanded off kind of the main ridges and whatever, but then I covered it, and for this I'm using kitchen paper, kitchen roll, which is ideal for kind of a lizardy skin because it's textured already and it's got kind of this bobbly kind of feel to it, and a slightly thicker feel than just regular paper. So again, I'm using this cheap PVA just to get a layer on. I do 2 layers of the paper. Second layer I mix a little bit of green into the paint, firstly so that I can see where I've put the second layer on, because obviously it's white on white and you can't see anything else, and secondly to create a base coat for the rest of the paint. Now I filmed it, but I don't think it was saved on the camera because the camera had a bit of a moment, but I put the eyes in. Now these are just some plastic cabochons with a little bit of folded paper just kind of to create the eyelid, which is, yeah, I might use it for something else at some point. Nice way of doing it. So they're not actually, the cabochons aren't stuck onto the head, they're just held in by the paper, which may or may not cause problems later on, but they're fairly secure, so it shouldn't be a problem. And then the paint, I'm using this neon acrylic stuff, which is really quite fabulous. Out in the daylight, this has got some real shine to it, and I'll take pictures out outside once I'm done. So yeah, I'm using Q-tips here to add the paint on. Q-tips help to spread it without leaving kind of brush marks, and help to get it into all the crevices and things that I created with the paper. So it just adds the slightly more Gekko-y feel, I suppose. Obviously there are, I don't think there are any geckos that are this colour in nature, but oh well, you know, it'll do. So I worked up through, I've got 5 different shades of these neon paints which work quite well, but the purple that I put right along the spine was a little too dark, I think, for the general feel of it. So instead I used a little bit of metallic silver just to kind of touch in the outside edge of everything, and then a little bit of metallic bronze along that spine to kind of bring it down slightly, make it redder, more red than purple, and just kind of bring everything in together. I think that's a really great look. So I'm quite happy with it. I was fairly disappointed with it after the filler went on, particularly having to cut out his middle bit so I could actually get the clock movement in, but right now I'm really satisfied with this. I'm debating whether or not to put a couple of nostrils on, but I don't think I need to. So it's pretty much there. I've painted the back just in some black, and I'll give that another coat at some point because it's kind of crackled because I was using the water-based stuff. So when I find my black acrylic, I'll give that another coat. I'll give that a spray of varnish as well just to protect it. And I've got a couple of pieces of foam to put just on the tail, so that when it's hung up from here, and that's the bit that's going to hit the wall, so that should stop it from marking any surfaces. So now I need to put the hands on. Now this is a standard clock kit, the same kit that I used for the animal pictures. I'm not entirely sure that the style of hands is correct, but they're the right colour. They're black and red, so they'll stand out quite well against all the colour. So it'll do for now. If I want to, I can take them off and give them a coat of nail varnish or spray paint or something just to bring the colour down. I'm just going to push these onto the movement here. I'm slightly concerned that our hand might hit the body. It looks to be quite clear. The thing I find with these clocks is that the hands are really thin, I think aluminium, and liable to bend quite considerably. So make sure that the minute hand is slightly bent away from the hour hand before I put the seconds on. And that is fairly wonky, so I'll just tidy that up. And just push that into place. So that is my neon Gekko clock completed.